is going on, everybody, and welcome. Today is it? It is Tuesday to the Tuesday Stokastic NHL Strategy Show. I am your host, Josh Harris. If you had any best puck teams advance to the semis, we're in there now. I got 10 teams through of my 100 drafted into the semis. Went 10 of 44 in the quarterfinals. That's not ideal, but better than last year when I got none to the semis. But yeah, we are rolling on here. We got another week of DFS. It's a little bit more of a flat schedule than last week where it was like 214, 1, 400, 6. But yeah, 9-game slate here tonight. Not overly large, which is nice to see. Joining me to break down some Cliffy, what's going on?
Yeah, it's nice to have this spread out schedule this week. I think it's the last one of the year. Every week from here on out, it's like 2, 13, 1, 14, that type of stuff. So let's enjoy it while we have it. Nice little interesting 9-gamer on the board here tonight. Obviously there's some pretty key injuries. Leon Draisaitl looks like he's out for tonight. We were talking before the show, the Florida Panthers are effectively missing their entire top power play. And they're still heavy favorites. Vancouver Canucks are really something else. Obviously Austin Matthews is out. There's some pretty key injuries across the board. So interesting slate to break down. We have a couple of the big boys on the board, but that's going to be the case, I think, almost any time we have a show from here on out. So it should be an interesting little slate ahead of us.
Yeah. We should get into it. MLB around the corner. The memberships for that are not live yet. As soon as they go live, you'll know when they go live. I'll be blasting this puck luck stuff everywhere on my Twitter, in our shows. We'll get you a deal for the MLB Sims if you're into that. But yeah, we should hop into this slate. Started off with a 6.5 Carolina Hurricanes with a 3.4 total heading into Columbus. Possibly our Blue Jackets have a 3 total. Carolina going, I think Svechnikov's back in the lineup, right? Yeah. He didn't skate, but should be all right, is the quote. Eric Robinson practiced in his spot, so it seems like a placeholder, but we'll see. Aho, Svechnikov, Jarvis, Stankov, and Hall, Blake, Stahl, Martinook, Ehlers. The Cole Sillinger experiment has ended on the top line for now. Fantilli, Marchment, Marchenko, Monahan, Johnson, Garland, Coyle, Sillinger, Olivier. So Carolina won the most expensive line on the night, on the road in Columbus with a questionable Andrei Svechnikov. They do have a 13.3% top two, 2.6% projected ownership. They're going to see the Coyle matchup most likely. That line below average defensively by expected goals, above average by actual goals because they get good goaltending behind them. It's a good power play spot for the Hurricanes. They are fully correlated, but it's a 9-game slate. Svechnikov not 100%, and they're the most expensive line on the night. In single entry, that's going to be hard for me to prioritize. There's Edmonton on this slate. There are some big totals. Edmonton has a 3.8. Montreal has a 3.5. There's a team playing Vancouver. There's Tampa. You know what I mean? So, do I like Carolina one here? Yes, but the price is a little bit prohibitive compared to, I don't know, McDavid without Draisaitl is going to play 22, 23, 24 minutes. It wouldn't shock me to see Sebastian Aho play 18.5, 19 here tonight. You know what I mean? So I don't know if I can get there in single entry. For me, I would probably go to the second and third lines. The second line probably is my preferred, 12,200. They've been excellent all season. They're fully correlated on the second unit. They'll see a fair bit of that Fantilli line, which has been their best defensive line probably. with Marchment there. But, this Stankoven line has been great at 12,200, 1.6% projected ownership. Like, there's nothing that really concerns me for them as a filler. So it would be Carolina 2. I don't mind Carolina 3. On the Columbus side, it would be the top line. They're 15,900, 6.5% top two, 9.8% projected ownership, some negative leverage there. They will see that Stankoven line, which is their worst defensive line. The problem is, it's a terrible power play matchup. And, they don't play a ton of minutes. So if you're going to play Columbus here, I kind of would want them to be in a better power play spot if they're going to have that negative leverage, right? If they had positive leverage here tonight and they're 3% owned, I'd be more likely to play them. But negative leverage in a bad power play spot, yes, can they get there 5-on-5? Sure. But, I don't want to rely on that. So I think this is another spot where I would go down the lineup. Now, that Monahan-Johnson-Garland line has been excellent. They don't play a ton, and they're probably going to see the Stahl line. Now, the Stahl line with Ehlers there hasn't been elite defensively. So I guess for 10K even, if you're doing some sort of expensive power play stack, a two-man of Monahan-Garland or Monahan-Johnson isn't the worst. But, I would probably just go to the two-man on the third line, like a Coyle Olivier or something like that. But really, in single entry, it's hard to prioritize anything besides maybe Carolina 2 as a filler, but they would obviously not be the first into my lineup.
Yeah, I'll start on the Carolina side. That price is really, really high. Like, that is kind of a tough pill to swallow, 21K on the road. I don't, almost regardless of the matchup. 9-game slate, I guess it's doable, especially we'll talk about the rest of the slate as we go on, but Minnesota's going to be without Joel Eriksson Ek. That's going to jumble their top six a little bit. The problem with Tampa Bay is they always have two playable lines that are very expensive. Edmonton's on the board later in the slate, and their top line is reasonably priced with McDavid, Hyman, and Savoie, but there's no Leon Draisaitl for the power play, and he is a very, very big part of that power play. So, I do understand wanting to get to Carolina with their low ownership, right? I was looking since the Olympic break, those three guys in 9 games, those three guys have 30 points and 80 shots between them. They're averaging 3.3 points and 9 shots per game between them. That is some heavy stuff. I wouldn't say no to playing Carolina 1. It's just a line that expensive on the road on a 9-game slate typically isn't my cup of tea. And when I ran the Sims before we came on the air, the only player with positive leverage, which means exposure in my top lineups against the entire pool, is a defenseman. In fact, the top 5 by leverage were all Carolina defensemen. The 2 most negatively leveraged guys were Sebastian Aho and Seth Jarvis. So Sims don't really seem to love Carolina 1. I don't really love them. I kind of agree with you on Carolina 2. They're a nice filler. They have been productive basically all year. This line is up to nearly 400 minutes together at 5-on-5, and they're scoring 3.6 goals per 60 minutes, right? That's better than the top line. Now, obviously, they don't get the minutes and secondary power play time and all that. But they have been very, very good offensively. There's not a ton of ownership coming in on them. There's only a bit of negative leverage. Certainly nothing to worry about. They'll be under 2% owned, it looks like. So I do like Carolina 2 here. That would be my target in this game. On the Columbus side, I know it is a bad power play matchup for Columbus. The big problem is their power play opportunities, right? Over their last 24 games, 2.2 power play opportunities per game. It's tied for the lowest rate in the league. Over the course of the season, the only team getting fewer power play opportunities than Columbus is Toronto. So like, not only is it a bad power play matchup, they're not going to get a lot of opportunities, probably not going to get a lot of opportunities, right? But 15,900, like it wasn't that long ago. This line was like 18K, right? That is a pretty cheap price. There's some negative leverage, but 9.8% ownership. So they might come in at single digits. It's not, Carolina, obviously a very good defensive team. We'll see if Brandon Bussey gets to start, but it's not as if Brandon Bussey's been like unbeatable. The guy gave up 9 goals in 2 games between Calgary and Vancouver. So like, I don't mind Columbus one here tonight. Like, especially if you're playing some sort of 20 max or whatever. Yeah, I would probably have a couple of them. Like at 15,900, they don't need a power play goal to get there, right? They get 1 of 5-on-5 and 1 with an empty net, and you're probably fine. And if you want to get an expensive defenseman in tonight and you want to play a couple 15K-ish lines, I think this is one you probably go to. So I don't have any issue going with any of the Columbus second or third lines. They get decent ice time. They've both been productive, whichever one you want to look at. If you're playing something super expensive, they're cheap enough where they can fit in pretty easily. But I kind of like Columbus one, even with a bit of negative leverage here. And when I ran the Sims, Kirill Marchenko was one of the 10 most positively leveraged players on the slate that it spit back at me. So for me, it goes Columbus 1, Carolina 2 in this game.
Boston Bruins 2.9 total. Heading into Montreal, the Canadiens have a 3.5. Boston going Minton, Pasternak, Kuznetsov, Zacha, Middlestat, Arvidsson, Lindholm, Geeky, Steves. The top line for Montreal is going to be together. Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkovsky. Then they confirmed Evans, Texier, and Bolduc. After that, it's your guess, but like those lines aren't super important for DFS. Boston played last night. It was Korpisalo, and that's going to be Jeremy Swayman here tonight. Not a lot of ownership here on Boston, and probably because their lines don't have great power play correlation. Now, we've talked a bunch about Fraser Minton, how he's probably the best center offensively on the team. The numbers reflect that with Pasternak in terms of goals scored. If I was playing Boston here tonight, though, I would probably go to Lindholm and Geeky and then add in Pasternak just to make it a power play stack. I think that would become it'd be 18.9, which is $900 cheaper than the Montreal top line. Lindholm and Geeky are probably going to see middle 6 matchups of Montreal. Do I want to play Elias Lindholm here tonight? No, but he's on the top power play unit, and it's the only line that has 2 power play guys, and they're going to avoid the Suzuki matchup. So it would be the Lindholm Geeky line, but I'm not doing anything with Boston without Pasternak. So I would find a way to get Pasternak. And if you want to go Minton, Pasternak, Kuznetsov for 14.9, like fine, but they're going to see a fair bit of that Suzuki matchup. So I'd find a way to go to a power play stack. I'm not running out to play Lindholm Geeky here tonight, but like you could do worse than Lindholm and Geeky against the middle 6 of the Habs. The Canadian side is more interesting to me, and it is that top line. They're 19,800, 14.9% top 2, which is a higher top 2 stack than Carolina one. They have positive leverage with 7.8% projected ownership. And it's a very good power play matchup. Boston's back-to-back on the road. They do have Jeremy Swayman going, but Boston's one of the most penalized teams in the NHL. Their penalty kill is not great. So I think there's a lot of merit to going to Montreal one here. There's positive leverage, great spot. So, I don't know what else you want me to say there other than they're really expensive and you may only see Suzuki over 20 minutes. That's a problem, but like unlike Columbus, they'll probably have 3, 4, 5 opportunities on the power play here tonight. You want to go to a 2-man of like Evans, Bolduc, or Evans, Texier, fine. But it would be Montreal 1 and Boston 3 power play.
Yeah, I will start on the Boston side. The projections, the top 3 projected skaters on Stokastic tonight are all centers: McDavid, Celebrini, Eichel. The highest projected winger is David Pastrnak. Not like it's a huge surprise, but we do have Kirill Kaprizov facing Chicago, and then there's Nikita Kucherov also on the board, and David Pastrnak is projected higher than both. And his projected ownership is 5.6%. I talked about it in the Discord yesterday a little bit. I liked Pastrnak yesterday because it looked like he was going to get 9-10% ownership on a 5-game slate. Here he's half the ownership on a 9-game slate, facing a team that gives up a lot of power plays and doesn't have a very good penalty kill. At the very least, I really do like a one-off Pastrnak. I agree. I would probably try to get somebody else into the power play. I might make that Pavel Zacha, honestly. And the reason is this, is one, like Elias Lindholm, man, like I can't do it. Like
that's fair.
Like when I ran the Sims, I ran 300 lineups and it didn't give me a single Elias Lindholm in 300 lineups.
The robots hate him too.
Yeah. So like, but the only positive leveraged guy forward that it gave back to me was Morgan Geekie. So if you wanted to do like Mitten, Pastrnak, Geekie, I think that's fine. Pavel Zacha, like one of the reasons why I like Zacha is, one, he's on the top power play unit. He gets a lot of touches because he's the playmaker on that top unit, right? Like obviously Pasternak's a great playmaker too. Like I'm not going to take that away, but behind him, it's not Lindholm or Geekie. It's Zacha that gets touches. The other is that Boston second line is very good, right? They've scored 4.2 goals per 60 minutes of 5-on-5 this season. Now the shooting percentage is riding a bit hot, but great secondary matchups against Montreal's depth, especially the depth defense pair. Like it's a pretty good 5-on-5 matchup for Zacha in that second line. So I would almost be tempted to do like, if you want to do like Zacha, Pastrnak, Geekie, I think that's fine. If you want to do Mitten, Pastrnak, Zacha, that's fine. I would probably, obviously you start with Pastrnak. I think Zacha might be the next guy in, just because I have more confidence in that line actually being good offensively than I do the Boston third line. And you get Zacha on the power play. So like, Zacha's $700 cheaper than Lindholm. His line, I think, is going to be better. Similar minutes. Like I would do like Mitten, Pastrnak, Zacha, Geekie, if you want to focus more on the power play, something like that. But obviously Pasternak's the first guy in the lineup. On the Montreal side, this is a very good power play matchup for them. I do hear what you're saying about ice time. I do think that Kirby Dach being out kind of changes that a little bit. Yeah. Just because like he was a guy that got minutes once he came back, and now that he's out, they don't, like, Oliver Kapanen's been playing like 12, 13 minutes a game. Obviously Jake Evans gets ice time, but a lot of that is either shorthanded or with the empty net. They don't really have anybody they can lean on now in the depth. Like I'm serious. Like they don't trust Demidov to play 18 minutes a game. It's not going to be Gallagher or Anderson or Danault or any of those guys. Like, so it wouldn't surprise me if this game is close that you see Caulfield and Slafkovsky in the high teens, maybe even Slafkovsky over 20 minutes, like something like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I do like Montreal one. I'm not super concerned about the top line matchup against the Bruins. That top line for the Boston is currently constituted 3.6 expected goals against per 60 minutes. Boston is the second most penalized team in the NHL over the last 41 games, I believe it is, like half the season. Obviously, Montreal's power play is very, very good. Dach being out won't change that. So, Montreal is one of the top 3 lines for me of the expensive lines, one of the top 3 lines on the board here tonight. So for me, it goes Montreal 1, and then on the Boston side, it's like it's probably Pastrnak, Zacha X. Whether it goes Geeky, whether it goes Minton. If you want to put in Lindholm, go ahead. I'm not doing it, but Pastrnak, Zacha plus, I'll say.
New York Islanders, 3.2 total. Heading into Toronto, the Leafs have a 2.8. Islanders going Horvat, Barzal, Heineman, Shen, Holmstrom, Duclair, JG Pajot, Lee, Ritchie. No need to even mention the. No, I'm just kidding. They're going Tavares, Michelli, Nylander, Domi, Nyes, Cowan. This game sucks. The top line for the Islanders, 16,700, 10.8% top two, 13.6% projected ownership. A little bit of negative leverage there, but like this Leafs team is brutal. And Horvat and Barzal carried the corpse of Andre Palat to good numbers. Emil Heineman can actually skate. He's a shot bot, but that's what they need, right? So like this is a really good line. The Tavares, Nylander, Michelli line, not good defensively in the slightest. I do really like the. I hate that I like not like chalk Islanders here tonight, but like this Leafs team is a shell of what they were. Horvat and Barzal together are really, really good. So I'm in on the Islanders top line here. The depth, I'm probably out on the Shen line at 10-6. Pajot and Lee have been very good together this season. A lot of that was with Holmstrom. I would imagine they'll be fine with Ritchie, so that would be the line I would go to as depth if you're power play stacking, but it is an Islanders one game for me. On the Toronto side, like negative leverage on Tavares, Nylander, Michelli. As you mentioned in the Columbus game, the Leafs don't draw penalties. The Islanders don't take a ton of penalties. The Islanders aren't great defensively, but it is Sorokin in net. And if you're going to give me a negatively leveraged top line in this game, I'm certainly going to the Islanders here. Now, I don't have an issue, I guess, in theory, with Tavares, Nylander, Michelli. Can't wait until the Leafs let Michelli walk as a restricted free agent next year. But that's neither here nor there. I guess Tavares, Nylander, Michelli have been fine offensively, but I'd rather play the Islanders for $700 more. No interest in Domi, Nyes, Cowan. Like you want to do a one-off Easton Cowan or something like that, fine. But I'm really not super high on the Leafs here. If anything, it would be the top line, but I'd rather just play the Islanders.
Yeah. I'll start on the Islanders side. Like that Islanders top line's up to 105 minutes. They're at 4 expected goals. They're only scoring 2.7 goals per 60, actually. Shooting 6.4%. 2.7 goals is about 8%, give or take, above the league average, and they're shooting 6.4%. Like if this line shot 9-10%, they'd be one of the best offensive lines in the league. You mentioned Toronto's defensive issues for their top line. 2.9 expected goals against, 4.9 actual goals against in over 200 minutes together. They've been an absolute train wreck. Oliver Ekman-Larsson may not play tonight. I think they either had a baby recently or having a baby. Like
they said he's napping right now.
This blue line is bad. I kind of agree with you. If I'm going to play one of the negatively leveraged lines in this game, it's the Islanders top line. It's not just that I think it's a better 5-on-5 matchup for them. It's ice time is a big thing for me. Tavares might get a fair bit of ice time with Matthews out, and that's notable. But they had a game on the weekend against Buffalo that went to a shootout. So it went 65 minutes with no Austin Matthews, and Tavares didn't even play 20 minutes. That's kind of a problem, especially when you have Horvat and Barzal, who, since the Olympic break, Barzal's skating 21:40 per game, and Horvat's at 22.5 minutes. I'm like, that is a ton of ice time against a very bad defensive team. Yeah, Islanders won. Really do like them. You want to dip down to the cheaper Islanders? I think that's fine because honestly, the deeper you go in this Toronto lineup, the better the matchups get, which is insane to think about. But I really, really do like the look of that top line. Like, I don't think this is a line. This isn't a spot where you turn it into a power play stack. Like whatever else we can say about the Leafs, they still have, a reasonable power play. So I would just go Heineman, Horvat, Barzal, and be done with it. So yeah, I really do like the Islanders one. You want to play Toronto one, like, go ahead. They have been good offensively, as you mentioned, 3.6 expected goals per 60 in their time together. Since Nylander returned from his injury, he has 22 points in 18 games. So he's been productive, and he's even been productive since Matthews got hurt. So I'm fine playing Toronto one, but I think for me, this is an Islanders game.
Yeah, agreed. Minnesota Wild, 3.3 total heading into Chicago. The Hawks have a 2.6. Now, these Minnesota lines are best guesses by the Minnesota media. I honestly don't have a clue. They have Urov, Kaprizov, Boldy, Hartman, Zuccarello, Tarasenko. Blackhawks going Bedard, Green, Burakovsky, Nazar, Bertuzzi, Teravainen, Donato, Mangiapane, Mikheyev. The thing is, right, if they put Hartman on that top line, then it's like Hartman, Kaprizov, Boldy. It's probably fully correlated, but also the most expensive line on the night. Either. I
don't think it'll be fully correlated. Tarasenko's been the first guy on the
power.
They've had an injury.
Yeah. Okay. So then I kind of prefer it being Urov. 20,300 against either Bedard, Nazar, or Donato. It doesn't really matter. It's a who's who of, wow, this line sucks. 20,300. Bedard line, 3.4 expected goals against per 60. Nazar line, 3.3 expected goals against per 60. Donato line in a smaller sample, 3.1 expected goals against per 60. It is Spencer Knight in net. Their power play has been sliding, obviously, without Dickinson and Murphy. The Wild's power play is very hot and cold, but like if you're going to give me Kaprizov and Boldy with a center at 3,200 who can hang with them against this matchup 5-on-5, I'm interested. 14.9% top two, 6.6% projected ownership. You get 2 of the 3 on the top power play. Like, yeah, I'm interested. If Hartman, Zuccarello, Tarasenko is the line, you still get 2 out of the 3 on the top power play for 13,400 in equally as good of matchup. It's kind of like the Dallas 1, Dallas 2 conundrum with Duchesne and Ben with Rantanen and Hintz out. I'd much rather play Kaprizov and Boldy. But if you can't fit them because you like Montreal 1, you could probably play Hartman, Zuccarello, Tarasenko with them and get 2 of the 3 on the top unit at 4.5%, a little bit of negative leverage, but really not that bad for a matchup against Chicago. So I'm mostly in on Montreal 1, assuming it's Urov in between Boldy and Kaprizov. Now, this beat writer could be completely wrong, and the lines could be completely different, but as we have now with the best guesses, I'd be in on Minnesota 1. On the Chicago side, it would probably be the Bedard line just because like Burakovsky and Green are almost min price. Minnesota really, without Joe Eriksson Ek, not great at shot suppression. So like Bedard's going to have his opportunities. Now, if you want to get more power play, because this is a good power play spot, you can leave off Burakovsky or Green and add in Teravainen, Nazar, Bertuzzi. I don't really want to play that line as a whole. They just, any Nazar line is going to be underwater and doesn't create a ton. They may score because they're absolutely lightning quick and they can score off the rush, but I'd want to get Bedard plus another power play guy plus one of Burakovsky or Green, but like I'm not super high in Chicago here.
Yeah, I'll start on the Chicago side. It's when I read the Sims, I saw there's a bunch of Chicago players with some pretty high positive leverage. I was like, that's interesting. Then I went and looked at which players they actually were. 4 guys with solid positive leverage. 3 of them were defensemen. 2 of those defensemen are mid-price, and then the 4th guy was Connor Bedard. So it's like you want to get your Connor Bedard, Artem Levshunov stacks in there, go ahead. The top line for Chicago has been good offensively this season, right? 3.2 goals per 60 minutes together. A lot of that success came earlier in the season. Now, facing Minnesota, like it's not a brutal matchup. You know what I mean? Like this isn't like, Carolina 2 years ago or Boston and Bergeron's heyday. It's not a great matchup, but it's not a brutal one. They do get a fair bit of ice time. The problem is like Minnesota's penalty kill has gotten a lot better. Obviously, it's a lot better with Jonas Brodin in the lineup. And so looking at Minnesota's last 25 games, they're a top 10 penalty kill by goals against per minute. So what was a big weakness for Minnesota in the first 30-plus games of the season has been a strength, basically, since Quinn Hughes got there, although I think it's just Brodin being healthy. So it's not really a good power play matchup for Chicago. I will like it. So it's not like I'm running out to make power play stacks. It's not like, I have to, Chicago 2 is perfectly correlated, put them in. But like Chicago 2 is perfectly correlated, bad matchup spot or not, a perfectly correlated line where the wingers are going to play 17 to 19 minutes. Nazar might push 20. For what is basically a filler at 12,700, I don't hate it. If they get one correlated goal and a few shots and a couple blocks or something, it's okay. If they get 2 goals, you're laughing. For a perfectly correlated line that's going to play 17 to 20 minutes, I don't hate the idea of playing Chicago 2 here. I do think they're one of the lines, like if you are playing, Montreal or Carolina or something like that, like I think that's fine. Obviously, my interest is on the Minnesota side. The interesting thing for me here is the Chicago penalty kill. Remember, we talked about you just mentioned what the penalty kill would look like without Dickinson or Murphy in the lineup. 5 games since the trade deadline, Chicago's given up 4 power play goals against. It's the first time that's happened since December in any 5-game span. They've been bad. And if you look at some of the underlying numbers, they've been bad. I don't think that's a surprise. You trade away your best penalty killing forward, your best penalty killing defenseman, your penalty kill is going to get a lot worse. And this Minnesota power play is still great. And Joel Eriksson is a very good player. He's not the linchpin of this power play. It's Hughes and Boldy and Kaprizov. As long as those 3 are in the lineup, I honestly don't care who the other 2 guys are. So I really do like Minnesota 1 here. You do get 2 out of the 3 on the power play. The thing is like, I'd be pretty tempted to sneak in Tarasenko, like Minnesota 1 plus Tarasenko, just because he's 3,900. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't a guy that's like 5,700. He's not quite a punt, but he's just a tier above that. And he's been pretty successful in the top power play unit when he's gotten minutes there this season. So facing a Chicago team that is going to have a worse penalty kill, Minnesota's had a great power play since Quinn Hughes got there. And they're drawing a lot of power play opportunities as well. Over their last 25 games, tied for the second most power play opportunities per game in the league. So I really do like Minnesota 1 here. They are one of the top lines by top 2 stack on the board. They're expensive, but again, if you have Burov there and then you add in Tarasenko, it's a 4-man forward stack, and it's not the average cost per player isn't that high just because Burov and Tarasenko is so cheap. So Minnesota 1 plus Tarasenko, and then I guess Chicago 2 as a filler is fine, but that's probably more MME for me.
Nashville Predators with a 2.7 total. Heading into Winnipeg, the Jets have a 2.9. Nashville lines are projected. We have O'Reilly, Stamkos, Evangelista, Forsberg, Marchessault, Wood. Jets going Scheifele, Connor, Iafallo, Lowry, Perfetti, Velarde. I hate this game a lot. Like, no one's playing Nashville no matter what the line combinations are. I don't know if I'd full stack anything. Like, I don't want to stack a line with Marchessault on it anymore. Like, if it's a like O'Reilly, Forsberg, Stamkos, or O'Reilly, Forsberg, Evangelista, something like that, I'd have a lot more interest than either one of those with Marchessault. A one-off Evangelista, I guess, is fine. But he's not even on the top power play unit, and you can get Tarasenko for $500 cheaper. So I guess, like, if it's O'Reilly, Forsberg, X, that's probably where I'd go, but I just don't particularly love Nashville. 2.7 road total, smallest on the board. So on the Winnipeg side, the top line is 19,100 with Alex Iafallo there. And they won't see top competition, whatever that is for Nashville. It might be an oxymoron. Like, they'll avoid Ryan O'Reilly, which is the important thing. And it's a minutes thing, right? Like, Alex Iafallo is not a good DFS player since he was like on the third line in the Kings like a decade ago. But Scheifele and Connor just play an absolute ton of minutes. And there really is not a matchup concern there. So I guess it would be Winnipeg 1 for me. If you wanted to go to Winnipeg 2, like, you could do worse than them at 13-5 with two guys on the top power play unit. But, like, the two players that I want to play the most on the Winnipeg side are easily Scheifele and Connor. I just don't want to play Alex Iafallo with them. But, you know, in MME, I'd probably have some Winnipeg 1.
Yeah, this is an interesting spot for me. I know, like, when I ran the Sims, every single Nashville player it gave me had negative leverage. So the Sims not very high in Nashville either. If it is Evangelista, O'Reilly, Stamkos, like, that line has been pretty good offensively this season. 3.8 expected goals, 4.9 actual goals per 60 at 5-on-5 in 160 minutes together. Now, you know, they're going to go into Hellebuck. They're going to go into that Morrissey DeMello pairing. Like all those things aren't great. But for a line that's been tremendous offensively at 5-on-5, that is coming in with positive leverage at 16,100, I don't hate the idea of playing them. Like, I would be more into them than I would be the Nashville second line, assuming it's like, you know, Wood, Marchessault, or Forsberg. Like, I'm with you. Like, any line with Marchessault on it, like, I'm out. But that Nashville top line not getting any ownership, it's like, what are we afraid of from Winnipeg? You know what I mean? The Winnipeg Jets, 2.4 goals against per 60 at 5-on-5 this season. That is worse than the Philadelphia Flyers. So, like, take out Winnipeg, put in Philadelphia. How much interest would you have in a Nashville top line at 2%? You know what I mean? That's kind of the way that I'm looking at it. Now, obviously, there's a difference between Hellebuck and net and Eric Comrie figures into some of those games. But it's the same thing with Philly and Vladar and Urson. So, like, honestly, like, I don't mind Nashville 1 here in that price range. Like, I would, if you don't want to play one of this, if you need a line in that 15 and 16K range, and you don't want to play what's going to be chalky Florida, chalky Islanders, chalky Toronto, chalky probably Vegas as well, like, I don't hate the idea of playing Nashville 1 here. Like, Nashville is the better team, and they're the better offensive team, at least at 5-on-5. So, you know, just because Winnipeg's depth is a mess. So I don't hate playing Nashville 1 here. On the Winnipeg side, like, man, Alex Iafallo on the top line is just I don't like it.
It's poppycock.
That's one way of putting it. 19,100, like Winnipeg at home to Nashville or Montreal at home to Boston, right? Or, Vegas at home to Buffalo is not a great matchup, but you got San Jose going into Winnipeg. Like, I would rather play San Jose going into Edmonton. Like, I'd rather play San Jose going into Edmonton than Winnipeg with Alex Iafallo on it. You know what I mean? The one thing with the Winnipeg top line is the ice time, right? Like Scheifele and Connor are playing like 23 minutes a game. Like they're still in the playoff race. Like this is actually a pretty important game for both teams. But Scheifele's last 5 games, 25 minutes, 24 minutes, 24 minutes, 20 minutes, 22 minutes. Like even with Alex Iafallo there, you got to be able to create some offense in like 23 minutes of ice time.
Maybe.
Probably. So like I don't mind playing Winnipeg one, but like I said, I'd probably rather play San Jose or Montreal or Minnesota or something like that in that price range. So I guess I'm kind of out on the Jets and more in on Nashville.
Yeah, and the Edmonton line we're going to talk about is right in that range as well. San Jose Sharks with a 3.1 total. Heading into Edmonton, the Oilers have a 3.8. Draisaitl is hurt and out. Alex Wenberg back in the lineup for the Sharks. He's on the third line in between Kiefer Sherwood and Pavel Orejenda. Sharks going Celebrini, Smith, Groff, Toffoli, Eklund, Misa. Oilers, they're going McDavid, Hyman, Savoie, Dickinson, Roslovic, Nugent Hopkins, Podkolzin down on the third line. I mentioned Vasily Podkolzin is because he got the first crack on the top power play. Without Draisaitl, he is fast, but I'm not sure that really helps on the power play. This is an interesting game because did you see Chris Knobloch's quote? Like, we might be a more matchup team now without Draisaitl. I'm not sure what that means, but like, if they're going to glue Dickinson to Celebrini with Jack Roslovic on his wing, like, I like Jack Roslovic as a player offensively when he was on the Rangers, played no defense. Like, he's not a defensive forward. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins at this stage of his career, not a great defensive forward. McDavid, Hyman, Savoie, not good defensively. Now, you get Celebrini, Smith, and Groff on the top line at 18,700. Tristan Jarry, not a fit for the Oilers. Apparently, they tried trading him again. Classic Stan Bowman trading for a second-round pick for a guy who was on waivers like 3 months earlier. It is Connor Ingram in net, who has not had a good season. The San Jose top line with Groff has been good offensively. 3.1 expected goals, 3.4 actual. You got Celebrini and Smith on the top power play unit, a top power play unit that still has Dmitry Orlov on it. Edmonton penalty kill, leaves a lot to be desired, we'll call it. I do like the Sharks top line here. They're coming in with positive leverage, 9.6% top two, 5% projected ownership. If you want to leave off Groff and add in Wenberg, you save $300 and you get a fully correlated power play line. And Wenberg is going to play his normal allotment. He might actually play more than Groff. So I probably substitute Groff for Wenberg and make it a power play stack. Now, if you want to do Misa, Eklund, Toffoli as a filler, that's fine, but I would definitely get in Celebrini, Smith, X. If you want to do Toffoli, that's fine as well, but I'd probably just go Wenberg, saved a couple $100. The Edmonton side is pretty interesting here. The top line with Savoie there is 19,200. They have a lot of ownership. They still do have a little bit of positive leverage. They're 19,200. 23.5% top two, 21.5% projected ownership. Listen, it's a McDavid line. Savoie, he had injuries in Buffalo, but he's a good offensive player. I don't know, man. That's just a lot of ownership. I would probably turn it into a power play stack as well. Like, Edmonton 1 plus Nugent Hopkins or something like that. Edmonton 1 plus Podkolzin. It's a great power play spot, but I do worry about the power play without Draisaitl. He is outside of McDavid, obviously, like outside of McDavid, I think like 70% of the Edmonton power play points had Draisaitl involved this season. It's like it's an insane number. So like the power play is going to take a hit. How much of a hit against the Sharks penalty kill, I'm not sure. At 21% with the top line, I'd probably add in someone to dilute that ownership. If you want to do Podkolzin or Nugent Hopkins or maybe Roslovic sees some time, that's fine. If the Dickinson line is going to be up against the Celebrini line, like they're 11,100 and they're probably going to play minutes. Maybe you can use them as a filler, but like I would probably go McDavid, Hyman, X, and on the Shark side, I go Sharks 1, but I'd probably add in Wedberg.
Yeah, I think for me, I'll start with the Edmonton side. For me, I would probably just straight up stack the top line. McDavid and Savoie have played 165 minutes together this season, 4.2 expected goals per 60. Savoie has 9 points in his last 10 games. So he only recently got moved up to McDavid's wing. Like he was producing well even before he got there. Not really worried about any of the matchups on the San Jose side. The top line for San Jose is currently constituted 4.1 expected goals against. The Eklund line with Misa is at 3.4 expected goals against. Like this is a very, very good 5-on-5 matchup for Edmonton. I do have the same concerns as you for Edmonton's power play without Draisaitl. He's just such an important part. Like obviously McDavid gets all the zone entries, and getting into the zone with the control of the puck is the most important thing of any successful power play. After that, it's having a guy that can fire home 20 goals standing 1 foot in front of the goal line. You know what I mean? And that's what Draisaitl does. So I'm not super concerned about power play exposure. I would probably just go to the Edmonton top line and just stack them outright. There is going to be a ton of ownership on them, but there are a lot of filler lines that we can go through here tonight. Like, we mentioned Chicago 2 already. We mentioned Carolina 2. You mentioned the Boston, Lindholm, and Geeky line. Obviously, there's some lines in Buffalo and Montreal. So, like, there are plenty of ways to get low ownership in there. And when I ran Sims, the number 2 and number 4 highest leverage players were Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman. So 2 of the 4 highest owned players in the top lineups in the Sims that I ran were McDavid and Hyman. I have no problem adding Savoie. He came in with a bunch of positive leverage as well. So the fact that they're going to have to play so much, like I do agree with you, the Dickinson line is going to get more minutes with no Draisaitl. I also think this almost guarantees McDavid plays 23, 24 minutes, and then Hyman's going to be over 20. Savoie might even be high teens even without power play time, depending how they play. So I really do like Edmonton 1. I don't think it's a surprise, though. They do have the highest top 2 stack on the board, but this is a great matchup for them. On the San Jose side, one of the reasons why I'm not super high on playing, Winnipeg or Montreal or even Toronto, even though they're like $2,000 cheaper, is the San Jose top line at 18,700. Like, for Edmonton's top line to be as good as they are offensively, with Savoie there, they're also at 3.9 expected goals against per 60. That is absolutely horrific. Maybe the Dickinson line gets the matchup and they'll be good defensively. I don't know if anybody's watched the Edmonton defensemen this season. Oilers fans can fill you in on how well they play defensive. Like, I'm a big Jake Waldman guy. I have been for years and years. He's been bad, and Darnell Nurse has been worse. Connor Murphy he's looked fine, but he hasn't been great since he got there. It's basically the top pair and then cross your fingers. So I really do like Celebrini, Smith, and Groff here. Maybe the penalty kill for Edmonton gets better with Dickinson and Murphy. We have to wait to see how that goes long term. Edmonton's given up 3 power play goals against them in the last 5 games, but none of those goals came with Dickinson on the ice, who's played the most minutes for them. So Seems like a lot of secondary goals and stuff like that. So for me, I think San Jose won very much in play here. But if I have to pick between the lines, I'm going Edmonton 1, even with all the ownership, just because I think you can get, there are a bunch of filler stacks that you can add in with them, and I'm not that concerned about it.
Tampa Bay Lightning with a 3.4 total heading into Seattle. The Kraken have a 2.6. Tampa going Cirelli, Hagel, Kucherov. Point, Gonsalves, Gensel. Seattle going Beniers, Eberle, McMahon. Stevenson, McCann, Gaudreau. And then right, Berkeley, Catton, Capo, Kako. It's like, let's throw all of our top picks on the same line. Tampa always mixes up their lines, and you never know where Kucherov's going to play. They have confirmed that top line, though, for now. John Cooper, a little sneaky SOB, but this is an excellent 5-on-5 spot with the Stevenson matchup. I mean, listen, we can argue ad nauseum what you want to do with Tampa here, whether you stack Kucherov with Cirelli and Hagel, you power play stack with Gensel and Point. The one thing remains consistent is you start your lineup with Nikita Kucherov, and then you just build around him. It's a great power play spot here, and Philip Grubauer is confirmed. You can say whatever you want about how great he's been this season. Joey Decord is the better goalie. I don't know, like, because Kucherov, Cirelli, and Hagel together have been like an abomination how good they've been. It's disgusting. But at the same time, the Tampa power play in this spot is in an unbelievable spot. So you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. I'd probably just lean towards Kucherov, Cirelli, and Hagel and hope they stay together and they just run over the Stevenson matchup, which they should. Kucherov one-off, always in play. The Tampa top line, like, no one's playing Tampa here tonight. 11.7% top two, 2.4% projected ownership. That's why, like, 2.4%, how good that line's been. The matchup they're getting at 5-on-5, you still get Kucherov on the top unit. You know what I mean? Kucherov probably plays the full 2 minutes, so he'd play on the second unit with Cirelli and Hagel as well. So I probably would just lean staying Tampa 1. If you want to do some sort of power play stack, perfectly acceptable as well. On the Seattle side, it would probably be Beniers, Eberle, McMahon. I know McMahon's had a pretty hot start. He's not nearly the player Jared McCann is, and I don't know, like, it is 12,100. So for that, like, I think it's okay. It's $1,500 cheaper with McMahon than McCann. But, like, I'm not running out to play Seattle here. I know Tampa hasn't been great in their last 10 games defensively or even winning games, but they're coming in 2x their top 2 stack. You can get, I throw them in the mix with fillers that you can use, and they're a good filler because they're going to play decent minutes. I just don't want to prioritize them.
Yeah, I'll start on the Tampa side. As opposed to Edmonton, where McDavid and Hyman came in with a pile of positive leverage in the Sims, every single Tampa player in the pool in my top 300 lineups through the Sims came in with negative leverage. Sims don't really seem to love Tampa here tonight. I mean, listen, Kucherov, I mentioned Pasternak as the highest projection of any winger on the board. Kucherov is second. So a Kucherov one-off obviously is perfectly fine. Not that I'm super excited about playing Tampa Bay depth, but, Corey Perry is on the top power play unit, and whatever else he is or is not, he's still very good around the net, both a 5-on-5 and the power play. So if you want to do like a Kucherov Perry 2-man or something like that, I think that's perfectly fine. This is a good power play spot, even as Seattle's penalty kill has improved as the season's gone on. Over their last 25 games, it's still below average. And we know how good the Tampa Bay power play is when it really gets rolling. So like a Kucherov Perry 2-man, I think something like that is just fine. Here's the problem is, like, I don't mind playing the Tampa top line, but 20,900 and you only have one guy on the power play. That's a tough pill to swallow for me. So, like, I'd be almost tempted to do like Kucherov, Cirelli, Perry, or Kucherov, Hagel, Perry, or something like that, rather than just stack Tampa 1, just because it is such a good power play spot for them. That's the only line I have interest in. Like Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov, like when Point's on the ice with Kucherov, the goal scoring goes up something like 40%. Point without Kucherov is a much different player. And, considering his price, he's 6,200 and he hasn't really done a whole lot this year. Obviously, he's been better in the second half than the first half, but I don't know. I'm kind of stuck with Tampa at basically like Kucherov and Perry and then be on my way. Like if you want a one-off Brandon Hagel or something like that, I have no issue with that. But I think it's like basically just Kucherov and Perry, and then that's it. Just because I don't like Point playing without Kucherov. I don't like the top line only having one guy on the power play. Corey Perry is obviously super cheap, so that's kind of just where I am with Tampa. On the Seattle side, like 12,100 for Beniers, Eberle, and McMahon is fairly interesting. Here's something. I was looking at 5-on-5 goal scoring. In calendar 2026, if I'm not mistaken, Matt Beniers is tied for second in the league in 5-on-5 goal scoring. He has 11 goals at 5-on-5 in calendar 2026. I even if you look at per 60, he's top 10 in the league. I did not realize he had been doing that well, at least at 5-on-5. Now, we'll see how long Bobby McMahon actually lasts there, but obviously they don't mind moving McCann down the lineup. He spent a lot of time on the second and third lines over the last couple of years. So I don't know. Beniers, Eberle, McMahon at 12,100. It's not like it's a brutal matchup against Tampa, especially like any line with Kucherov typically struggles defensively. they're going to see some minutes against them. As a filler, I don't mind Seattle 1. Seattle 2, they said Tolvanen's going to be a game time decision. If he's out, it's going to be Freddie Goodrow. I don't see myself playing a Freddie Goodrow, Chandler Stevenson 2-man. No. So I guess I would probably drop down to Seattle 3, but I honestly think, like, considering how cheap that Seattle top line already is, it's Seattle 1 for me. I do like Kucherov, like a Kucherov Perry 2-man stack, the best in this game. But if I 3-man stack anything, it's probably Seattle 1.
Let's get to the I don't even know what to call it. Florida Panthers with a 3.3 total. Heading into Vancouver, the Canucks have a 2.7. Florida going Lundell, Luostarinen, Tkachuk, Rodriguez, Verhaeghe, Samoskevich.
I guess they absolutely nuked those lines last game.
Yeah, so no clue what they're going to do.
I believe they put Samoskevich with Lundell and Luostarinen.
Yeah. Vancouver going Rossi, Besser, Ogren, Pettersson, DeBrusco, Connor, Bluger, Carlson, Sasson. Either way, no matter what the top two Florida lines are going to be, there's going to be a ton of ownership on them. I'm not exactly thrilled on the situation. This is the spot to be negatively leveraged, I guess, but like they're basically missing their whole top power play. They're not a good team. But you know who's worse? The Vancouver Canucks. I don't know, man. Like Lundell and Luostarinen this season just have not been great, no matter who's been with them. I guess if like Rodriguez, Verhaeghe, Tkachuk is a line, I'd be interested because it'd be fully correlated. Maybe you just straight up power play stack. Go Tkachuk, Samoskevich, Rodriguez, Verhaeghe, and Ekblad. Like you probably can still fit like Kaprizov and Boldy because they're so cheap. I mean, you probably can't, but I might just straight up power play stack if you're worried about the ownership. You just put in those 5 guys, call it a day. Like Vancouver's penalty kill is an abomination. They're awful defensively. Kevin Lankinen's been terrible. So I'd probably just power play stack it. There's just so much ownership there, and we don't know the lines. Just full on power play stack. On the Vancouver side, like obviously I like the Fighting Blugers. No one's really going to play them. They're 7,900. You just need 2 of them. Pettersson, DeBrusque, O'Connor in their 3-4 games together have actually been pretty good. I don't have any matchup concerns for the Panthers. Like, they're just not good defensively. It is Tarasov who's been the better goalie, but who cares? That top line for Vancouver is only 12,100, the same price as the Seattle top line. They're coming in with a little bit of negative leverage, but it's not like they're 2% top 2 with 9% ownership. 3.7% projected ownership is not awful. You get 2 of the 3 on the top power play unit for whatever that's worth. Their power play is anemic, but you could do worse than, as horrible as that sounds, than Pettersson, DeBrusque, O'Connor here tonight. So outside of the Fighting Blugers, I maybe would consider Pettersson.
Yeah. Obviously one of the tough parts about this game is we don't really know what Florida's lineup is going to look like. What I will say is when I ran Sims, the most positively leveraged player it spit back at me on this entire slate was Carter Verhaeghe. And then number 2 was Evan Rodriguez.
Classic Jake Hari projections.
I was thinking the same thing. And then number 2 from Florida was Evan Rodriguez. Sorry. But of the top 5 positively leveraged skaters on this entire slate, 3 of them came from Florida: Verhaeghe, Rodriguez, and Samoskevich. Like Luostarinen, Lundell, and Samoskevich, if that ends up being the line, and we probably won't know until warm up, just because Florida's basically stopped doing morning skates. That line's 13,700. You probably get 2 guys on the top power play unit. Lundell and Samoskevich have played almost 120 minutes together this season. 2.9 expected goal, or sorry, 3.0 expected goals for per 60. Now, they've had trouble finishing. It's also the Vancouver Canucks. So you get 2 out of the 3 guys probably on the top power play unit. They're going to have to play minutes just because Florida's missing so many key players. Not worried about any of the matchups from the Vancouver side. Like Lundell, Samoskevich, and Luostarinen is a pretty interesting stack to me. If you want to take out Luostarinen, make it a little bit more expensive and add in, Verhaeghe or add in Makachuk or something like that, I think that's perfectly fine. But it's Lundell and Samoskevich at the very least as a 2-man that I really like here. I think more than anything Vancouver has. So whatever the Florida top line looks like, at the very least, it's Lundell, Samoskevich 2-man. What I will say is, like, if it is, Lundell, Luostarinen, and Mackie Samoskevich, right? That line is 11,600. And if they're not together, just go across the way to Vancouver, because there are a bunch of lines in that price range that you can throw in instead if you need to change up from Florida. So for me, it's Lundell, Luostarinen, and Mackie Samoskevich. I would absolutely start with Lundell and Samoskevich and just kind of go from there. That's where my interest is on the Florida side. On the Vancouver side, like, listen, Drew O'Connor and Elias Pettersson have played around 100 minutes together. They're at 3 expected goals for per 60, which feels like a miracle for the Vancouver Canucks. They've actually been able to produce something offensively. There are no defensive matchups of concern from the Florida side, especially with no Barkov and no Seth Jones and so on and so on. So, I do think there is some interest in playing Vancouver 1 here, especially where Vancouver's coming in with a fraction of the ownership of Florida. Now, obviously, Florida's the better team. Vancouver is a huge underdog in this game, and Florida's missing Bennett, Reinhart, Barkov, Jones, like Marchand, like the list goes on and on. It's kind of funny. I don't hate the idea of playing Vancouver one. I do think they're a filler that you can use just because I'm not worried about any of the 5-on-5 matchups from the Florida side. But I'm going to be honest, I think it's Lundell, Luostarinen, and Samoskevich that has my interest here just because they're going to get a lot of minutes. They're fairly cheap. And I think they're even as inconsistent as Florida has been this year, it's still a better matchup for Florida than it is for Vancouver.
Buffalo Sabres, 3.1 total. Heading into Vegas, the Golden Knights have a 3.4. Buffalo going Thompson, Benson, Tuck, McLeod, Zucker, Quinn, Norris, Doan, Ostlund. Vegas going Eichel, Stone, Barbashev, Hurdle, Dorofeyev, Marner. This is just a brutal matchup for the Sabres. Like I'm out on the Thompson line. Going into Eichel, Stone is just a miserable experience. Hurdle, Marner, Dorofeyev have been excellent defensively all season. I'm probably out on the Cloud line because they're 13,300. We've probably mentioned 4 in the 12K range that I'd rather play. So by default, I think it would be Norris, Doan, Ostlund against the bottom 6 of Vegas. It's still not the best matchup, but Norris and Doan have been very good this season. That line's 12,200. There are other 12K lines that I'd probably rather play, but just because it's a terrible 5-on-5 and a terrible power play spot. But like, if you got a little bit in MME, I think that's fine. My interest is on the Vegas side, and they definitely have 2 playable lines here. Eichel, Stone, Barbashev at 18,400, 11.3% top 2, 8.2% projected ownership. Thompson, Benson, Tuck this season have been atrocious defensively. Eichel, Stone, Barbashev they don't create a ton, but they score a lot. That's, not the most surprising thing for a Mark Stone line. Mark Stone is the most important player on the Vegas power play. So I do like Vegas one. If you can't afford Vegas one and you're doing some mid-range build, listen, Hurdle, Dorofeyev, Marner have been excellent together this season. The McLeod, Zucker, Quinn line, great offensively, terrible defensively. And, they're coming in right at their top 2. It's 7.4% projected ownership. So I think there's 2 different playable Vegas lines here. You could power play stack. That gets pretty expensive, but, I'd probably slightly lean Vegas 1, but I have no issue with Vegas 2.
Yeah, should mention Buffalo is doing their morning skate right now. We don't have any firm updates, but Alex Tuck's not on the ice for the morning skate. We'll see what it says. We'll certainly mention something in the Discord. I'm definitely out on Buffalo 1, not going into the teeth of that Mark Stone matchup. Buffalo 2, the McLeod line is kind of interesting for this reason, is like there's absolutely no ownership, 0.1% projected ownership. They are expensive at 13,300. They've also been very, very good. You know what I mean? 62 shot attempts, 4.1 expected goals, 4.5 actual goals, and over 300 minutes together at 5-on-5 this season. Like, that is tremendous. It's not a very good matchup for them. If I wish they were like 11,300 at 4% ownership, you know what I mean? At 13,300, it's kind of steep. I'd probably rather just go play Seattle 1 and save $1,200. You know what I mean? So, I guess I'm kind of out on Buffalo here tonight altogether. On the Vegas side, like, it's not a great power play matchup for Vegas. Even as Buffalo's penalty kills slid as the season's gone on, it's still top 10 by goals against per minute since January 8th, which is like I think it's their last 25 games. So, Buffalo's penalty kill's still been solid, but Vegas's power play is good enough to shred anybody. And again, when I ran Sims, the 2 most positively leveraged players were defensemen. We'll get to that in a second. It only had 1 positively leveraged forward, and it was Jack Eichel. again, I would probably build around Eichel. You know, I'm a big fan of Mark Stone. I think his price went down like 500 or something from the last time, or from the last game, which is nice. I would probably just straight up stack the top line. Now, if you want to take out Barbashev and put in Dorofeyev or something like that, I think that's something that you can do. It is, considerably more expensive to do that just because Dorofeyev is $2,300 more. But, you make that line, it's there, if you do Stone, Eichel, Dorofeyev, they're still cheaper than Carolina won, and they're right in that price range with like Tampa Bay and Minnesota. So like, I really don't have a problem with doing that. At the very least, I think an Eichel one-off certainly makes sense. I would probably do Eichel, Stone, Dorofeyev if you want to do Hurdle or Marner or something like that instead. But that's my interest in this game. I really don't have a lot of interest in Buffalo.
Let's talk about defensemen here. In the 6K and up range, we have Werenski, Dahlin, Yossi, Bouchard, Hughes, Schaefer, Radish. I know Werenski's the most.
Sorry, real quick. They said Alex Tuch has an illness, so
we'll see. I mean, we won't see because it's late, but Werenski is the most expensive here. It's a pretty tough matchup. I think he's fine, but I think my number one here would be Evan Bouchard. Without Draisaitl, we may see a lot more Bouchard bombs from the point. So I'd probably go Bouchard 1, Werenski 2. I'd probably throw Matty Schaefer number 3. Toronto sucks. So and Schaefer is just a monster. I think Quinn Hughes would be after that for me. 6,700 in a better power play spot than it was a few weeks ago. So I'd probably go Bouchard 1, Werenski 2, Schaefer 3, Hughes 4, and then Yossi 5. I don't have a ton of interest in Rasmus Dahlin in this matchup at that price.
Yeah, of the defensemen 6K and above, the top 3 by overall projection are Bouchard, Werenski, Schaefer in that order. And they're kind of all in their own tier, like Bouchard around 14 DK points, Werenski a bit over 13, Schaefer around 12. But the top point per dollar projections are Bouchard and Schaefer. So I think those are kind of the targets in that price range. I think Zach Werenski is perfectly fine. But for $600 less, you can go play Evan Bouchard, even if he's a bit more, even if he's going to be higher owned. I really don't care. It's a great matchup for Edmonton. But it is Matthew Schaefer that stands out to me, just because he's 6,200. Did you see the report? He said he's hoping to have 1,000 people in Toronto to watch him play tonight.
He's going to have half the building full.
I mean, Leafs fans have stopped going to the games. So yeah, I think for me, I really do like Schaefer. Roman Yossi's kind of interesting just because it's under 5% owned, and he has a strong projection, even if he is expensive. But I would probably, factoring in price, I would probably go Schaefer 1, Bouchard 2, Werenski 3. The mid-price range, honestly, I think is where things get really interesting because, you have the Hudson-Dobson thing. Again, I think if you stack Montreal 1, you throw in Hudson. If you're just one-offing a defenseman, you use Dobson. Charlie McAvoy, we were talking before the show about the heater that Charlie McAvoy's been on. It really has been something else. I don't think if anybody's not been paying attention, since the Olympic break, he has 11 points in 10 games with 16 blocks and 23 shots in that span. It's been pretty good. And then between 4 and 5K, you have Brandon Montour, who's always going to carry solid point per dollar projection. Brock Faber, again, solid point per dollar projection. Tony DeAngelo, 2.02 fantasy points projected per $1,000 here tonight. It's the highest mark of any defenseman between 4 and 6K. Toronto Maple Leafs, ladies and gentlemen. Philip Hronek still getting a ton of ice time for Florida, and Jake Wallman, I think, is perfectly fine in a great matchup against his old team, San Jose Sharks. So, I think there are a lot of guys in that 4 to 6K range that are very playable. McAvoy, Montour, DeAngelo, Hronek, Wallman, Hudson, Dobson. I think it's a great range here. There's a lot of cheap guys to play here tonight, too, like Rasmus Anderson, 3,900 against Buffalo, perfectly fine. Sam Renzel, I guess. I mean, listen, I would love for Sam Rinzel to have a couple big weeks here. The guy's not really done a whole lot. What is it? 7 games since the Olympic break. He has 3 points. At least he has 17 shots. But I mean, I guess Rinzel, Aaron Ekblad. I mean, I guess just because it's Vancouver, whatever. Keandre Miller's been playing a lot of minutes without Shane Gostisbehere, like 23, 24 minutes. So Keandre Miller, Shea Theodore, he's only 3,500 for Vegas. Matthias Ekholm in a great matchup against San Jose. Under 3K, you have Jonas Brodin, Wyatt Kaiser from Chicago. Vinny Desharnais has a strong projection for San Jose. It's just because he's getting ice time. Here's the other thing. I saw San Jose is scratching Shakir Moukmadoulan to play Nick Leddy against the Edmonton Oilers. It's going to be interesting. So maybe Sam Dickinson picks up some extra minutes, but I guess it's Desharnais for mid price at 2,500.
Vinny Desharnais.
This team is knocking on the door of the playoffs, and they're playing Vinny Desharnais and Nick Leddy against the Edmonton Oilers. Okay.
Let's talk about goalies. This top range sucks. Like, you have Gustafsson at 8,400. I just don't like playing goalies that expensive, but I would imagine in the top range, he's probably the highest projected considering, if Vasilevsky starts, he'd probably be the guy I'd play at 8,300, but then you have the Florida starter, Connor Ingram, Jakub Dobish in that range. Like, I'd probably go Vasilevsky 1, Gustafsson 2, and then Dobish 3. But really, my interest is right below that. Connor Hellebuck at 7,900, Elias Sorokin at 7,800. Don't even mind Joey Woll at 7,600. Again, if the Leafs are going to win, it's going to be a low-scoring game on the back of Joey Woll. Right below him, Jet Greaves, 7,500 against Carolina at home is fine. I think UC Saros at 7,500 is also fine against Winnipeg. And then for the cheap guys, I don't really like going below Saros. I guess you could play Swayman at 7,400. That's not awful, but below that, it would probably be Spencer Knight against the Wild at 7K.
Yeah, the top projected goalie is Connor Hellebuck, and he also has the highest point per dollar value. He's going to carry a fair bit of ownership, but I think rightly so. I have Hellebuck number 1 on my board here tonight. Philip Gustafsson right behind him. If you have the salary against Chicago, I think that's fine. Elias Sorokin, 7,800. Like, without Austin Matthews, I'm not super concerned about the matchup against the Leafs. Sounds like famous last words. So while I don't mind playing Gustafsson here tonight, the fact that Hellebuck is 7,900 and Sorokin 7,800, I think you may as well just save a little bit of money there. For the cheaper goalies, Jet Greaves, 7,500, I think makes sense. Hope he doesn't get lit up. Joseph Woll, 7,600, facing the Islanders. If you're not playing Sorokin, I think playing Woll makes some sense. And yeah, I think the punt guy tonight is Spencer Knight at 7K. I do worry about that matchup against Minnesota, but there's not really a lot that is super cheap here tonight. You're basically, if you're looking 7,200 or less in net, you're looking at Kevin Lankinen, I think, starting for Vancouver tonight. Yeah, he's confirmed. So it's Kevin Lankinen, Joey Decord against Tampa Bay, or Spencer Knight against Minnesota. It's not really a great lineup, but if you need a super cheap goalie, I would risk it on Spencer Knight.
Whew. We will be back tomorrow for a 5-game slate, so look forward to that. Who are you liking for your hat trick pick?
It's kind of a chalky pick, but I do like the player, and I think he's going to get a pretty good opportunity here. I'm going with Matty Savoie.
I'm going to the Sharks, and I'm going Will Smith.
Okay, so same game.
Oh, yeah, my bad. But I have he's one of my highest owned best puck players, so I had to pick one of those guys.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. 5-game slate. Hoorah. Good luck, everybody, tonight, and we'll see you in the Discord.
Good luck tonight, everyone.